of the great things about Illustrator is the variety of tools it puts at your disposal. The Tools panel, or toolbar, is usually docked on the left-hand side of the screen. To find out what each tool is, simply hover over an icon to see its name and corresponding keyboard shortcut. For example, if you press the T key on your keyboard, you'll activate the Type tool. Let's open our first exercise document to start looking at the tools you're most likely to use in Illustrator. You can go into the File menu and click Open, or you can use the shortcut Command O in Mac OS or Control O in Windows. We want to open the business card document, which is located in the exercise files folder where all of your exercise files are going to be located. We're going to click Open. Now we're going to start by looking at the hand and zoom tools, which are really useful to move your artwork and zoom in and out. The hand tool can be used to reposition your artwork in the document window. Now if we select a magnification of let's say 300 in the status bar, you can't really see either cards fully. If you want to work on the top card, you could use the hand tool to bring it down, and so you can sort of center it in your workspace. Now I'm going to zoom out so I can show you how to use the next tool. So I'm going to go back and click 100. Right. Now the zoom tool, which is right next to the hand tool, looks and acts like a magnifying glass. When you select the tool and position it over the artwork, you'll see a plus sign in the magnifying glass. Click on the company name. Every time you click, you magnify the view by a predetermined increment. Click again to zoom in even further. You can also reduce the magnification. If you hold the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a Windows, you'll notice that the plus sign becomes a minus sign. If we click twice on the zoom tool, we can zoom out. Now, you can also increase or reduce the magnification level by dragging the zoom tool across the screen. Now, if we do that, notice how the sign in the zoom tool goes from a plus to a minus as we do this. If you don't want to use the zoom tool to view the various parts of your artwork, Illustrator offers you many alternatives. First, let's open another exercise file called Artboards blank. If you look at the status bar at the bottom of the workspace, you'll see a percentage, which I modified earlier. This indicates the current view. Now, if we go and look at the View menu, you'll notice several zooming options in the fourth section, each with its own shortcut. Now, if we want to zoom in and zoom out, it's pretty straightforward. You simply click the shortcut Command or Control minus or plus, and you can zoom in and out of your artboard. Now, if you go back to the View menu and you look at the Fit Artboard in Window, this option zooms in on the artboard that is indicated in the status bar. If you look at the bottom right here, it says Artboard 6. Now, if we open the artboard panel, you'll see that we are indeed on Artboard 6. Now, if we change the selection, let's say to Artboard 4, and you go into the View menu, and you click Fit Artboard in Window again, it zeroes in on that one instead. Now let's go back to the View menu, and another option would be Fit All in Window. Now that option zooms out to show all the artboards. Finally, The last option, actual size, changes the view to 100%, as you can see down here in the status bar. These multiple options can come in handy when you're working with multiple artboards. You can also use the magnification drop-down menu to select a specific magnification down here. Or you can also select Fit on Screen to zoom in on the selected artboard. Let's return to the business card document to continue exploring tools. The next tool we're going to look at is the Selection tool, right here at the top. The Selection tool is one of the tools you'll use the most in Illustrator. It allows you to select, move, and resize objects. You can only perform actions on an object when it's selected. So, using the Selection tool, move it over the artwork without clicking anything. Every time you hit an object that can be selected, it becomes active. And when the tool hovers over its center, the coordinates of the object also appear. Now, if you hover over the edge of the card, you might see the words path, and if you get close to the corner, you'll see the word anchor. This is because the smart guides are turned on. Smart guides are used to help you edit, transform, and align objects more easily. You can turn them on and off by going into the View menu and clicking Smart Guides on or off. I'm going to keep them on. Now, if you hover over text, a line appears under it to show that it can be selected. Now, we're going to go use the hand tool to bring up the bottom card. So, go back to the Selection tool. Now, a border, if we click on it, a border called a bounding box appears around it, indicating that it's now selected. The color of the bounding box will be the same as the layer the object is placed on. We can look at the layers here. If you can see, layer 1 is blue. And we're going to look more closely at layers in section 2. Now, let's go back to the artboard. Now, if we hover over one of the 8 handles, you can see that it turns into a double-headed arrow. Now, if you click and move the double-headed arrow, you can increase or decrease the size of the bounding box. Now, as you do so, Illustrator shows you the width and the height of the object. Now, notice that the circles inside the card don't move. That's because they are distinct objects with their own attributes. Now, we're going to undo. So, you can either go into Edit and do Undo, or you can use the shortcut command, which is Command Z in Mac and Control Z in Windows. So I'm going to do that until I go back to the original. Now, if you hover just outside the corner of the bounding box, you get a curved double-headed arrow. This allows you to rotate. If you click and drag, it allows you to rotate the bounding box in one direction or another. I'm going to undo again. The Selection tool can also be used to select multiple objects. To do this, you can select one object. So I'm going to click out. I'm going to select the phone number and email. And holding the Shift key, I'm going to also select the name. Notice how the bounding box now appears around both objects. The next tool we're going to look at is the Direct Selection tool. It's located right next to the Selection tool if you're in double column, or right under it if you're in a single column. The Direct Selection tool allows you to select anchor points on the vector path segments that Illustrator creates automatically when you draw a shape. This allows you to reshape the object. Let's click Command 0 or Control 0 to bring our artwork nice and center so we can see both cards. Now, if you click on the direction selection tool and you hover over the edge of the business card, you might notice like the anchor part, the word anchor, which appears because smart guides are turned on, and the small square placed right on top of the anchor point. Now, if we turn smart guides off, now when you hover over the corner of the bounding box, the small square gets inflated, and the small square of the direct selection tool pointer changes from a black to a white square with a small dot in the middle. Notice? Right there. Now this indicates that you are above an anchor point, even if it doesn't say anchor. So even when smart guides are turned off, you can see that you're over an anchor point. Now, using the zoom tool, we're gonna click on the word company name. Then using the hand tool, we're gonna drag the artwork until the circle is centered. Now we're going to go back to the direction tool. I'm going to actually zoom one more time. Now we're going to go back to the direct selection tool and we're going to click on the circle. Here again, you can see some anchor points. Click on one of those anchor points and it becomes active. If you click and drag the point, you can reshape the circle. Now we're going to undo, if you remember, Command Z or Control Z. You can also affect multiple anchor points at once. So we're going to zoom in on the bottom card. First I'm going to use the hand tool to bring it up and zoom in a little bit. Right. Now I want to change the shape of the top on all of the gray circles. So to do this, I'm going to select the top anchor point on one. Then I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to select the top on all the others, so the other two. Then I'm going to click and I'm going to drag any of the selected points to affect them all in the same way. Now I'm going to undo. Now if you zoom in on one of the circles and you click the circle again with the direct selection tool and you click on the top anchor point, you can see some lines appear. These are called direction lines and they determine the parameters of the curve. If you click and drag one in the direction of the direction points at the end of the line, now the anchor point doesn't move, but the shape is modified. I'm going to undo again. The selection and direct selection tools are not the only way to select objects in Illustrator. Located right under the selection and direct selection tools in the toolbar are the magic wand and the lasso tool. The magic wand tool, right here, allows you to select all the elements in your document that share the same exact attributes, such as several shapes with the same color. Select the magic wand and then click on one of the circles. I'm going to go back and I'm going to first click out to make sure nothing's selected. Now I'm going to zoom back in on the bottom card. Right. Now with the magic wand, I'm going to select a gray circle, for example. If you notice, all the other gray circles are automatically selected, no matter what their size and on both cards. You can also add other shapes to your selection. With the first shape still selected, hold the Shift key and click a circle of a different color. So let's say these yellow ones. Now all of those circles have been added to the selection, and you could modify all of these circles at once. So for example, you could decide to change the color, and you could make all of them this blue. Oh, this is the stroke, sorry. You could change the color and make them blue. So all of them have been changed at once. So I'm going to undo, go back to the actual color. Now, you can also reverse the selection by holding down the Option or Alt key, which turns the plus sign into a minus sign. So for example, if I wanted to now remove the yellow circles from the selection, I could click the Option or Alt key, and I could click, you can see the minus, so minus, click, and that would remove the yellow circles from the selection. Let's select the yellow circles again to add them to the selection. And I'm going to give all of the circles a stroke, a black stroke. Let's make it a bit smaller. Right? Now I'm going to click out of everything with the selection tool just to make sure that nothing is selected. Then I'm going to select the magic wand again, and I'm going to click one of the gray circles again. Now only the gray circles are selected, despite the fact that the yellow ones also have a stroke. If you want to change the selection parameters, you can use the Select menu and go into Same, and you can click Stroke Color or Stroke Weight in this case. You can also use the Select Similar Object button in the control panel to make the same selection. So I'm going to go out of here, and I'm going to go into the control panel, and I'm going to select stroke. You could select stroke color or stroke weight exactly in the same way as before. So if you think you'll need to affect these objects again as a group, you can also save your selection. Let me just do stroke color. And you can see that the yellow and gray on both cards have been selected. Now, if you think you're going to need to affect these objects again as a group, you can even save your selection by going into the Select menu and clicking Save Selection. Now, let's call them circles with stroke, and click OK. And then if you go back to the Select menu, you'll notice that at the bottom, Circles with Stroke is now available. Now, the lasso tool allows you to make very precise selections. For example, if we wanted to modify just one circle, so let's click the lasso tool, and I wanted to modify just this sort of reddish circle right here. So what I would do is I would draw around this circle and make sure that the loop is closed, and then it would select only that circle, as opposed to clicking with the lasso tool, which would select all of the other red circles as well. So the lasso tool can be used when working with more complex artwork, or when wanting to affect objects in a more precise way.